Hi, everybody, and welcome back for another exciting week of Español. This week we'll be discussing Capítulo 9, titled Las Celebraciones, or Celebrations. Um, as we take a look at our learning objectives that will guide our navigation of this chapter, my goals for you are that by the end of this chapter, you'll be able to identify vocabulary related to celebrations, personal relationships, and even stages of life. As far as grammar goes, in this chapter, we're really going to focus on the irregular preterite. We've kind of broken you in slowly. We started with the regular preterite, the stem changing preterite, a couple of irregular preterite verbs with ser and ir, and now we're moving into all the irregulars. We're also going to talk about verbs that have meaning changes when they're conjugated in the present versus the preterite. We're going to talk about relative pronouns as a way of shortening speech and combining two clauses. And finally, we will discuss the difference between que and cual. I'd also like for you to take some time culturally to investigate holidays in the Spanish-speaking world. So these are our goals and our objectives for this particular chapter. Let's get started with some vocabulario, as always, titled Las Fiestas. Well, we all know about fiestas, or parties. As we go through our list here, in red you have some new vocab words. So on the left we have el aniversario, the anniversary. Usually this term refers to a wedding anniversary, el aniversario de bodas, but you can be specific by saying de bodas. We have holidays, which are días festivos, or one holiday, el día de fiesta. In some countries they say días festivos as well, but el día de fiesta, the day of party or the holiday. We have la fiesta, the party, el invitado, or la invitada, the guest, la Navidad, Christmas, la quinceañera, it's a quinceañera. It's a woman's 15th birthday party, her coming of age party. La sorpresa, a surprise. And over on the left, we have el flan. If you've never tried flan, it's pretty life-changingly amazing and highly recommend. We also have here el champán, which I'm sure you can guess is champagne, el champán. At the top, we have celebrar, to celebrate. Cumplir años, literally to compile years or to have a birthday. So like when someone has a birthday, we say feliz cumpleaños, happy birthday or happy compiling of years. Next, we have dejar una propina, or to leave a tip. Divertirse, to have fun. Invitar, to invite or to treat someone. Pagar la cuenta, to pay the bill. Pasarlo bien or pasarlo mal, to have a good time or have a bad time. Regalar, to gift something to someone. Reírse, which is to laugh, and reírse does have a stem change from I to I. Relajarse, to relax, that is a reflexive verb. Sonreír, to smile. It is conjugated just like the verb reír, since that verb is kind of inside of this one, just with son in front. And it does also have a stem change from I to I. Sorprender, to surprise. Brindar, to toast. And el cumpleaños, the birthday. So let's give you a chance to say these words. So I will say them, and if you can just, por favor, repita. Here we go. El aniversario de bodas, el día de fiesta, la fiesta, el invitado, la invitada, la Navidad, la quinceañera, la sorpresa, celebrar, cumplir años, dejar una propina, divertirse, invitar, pagar la cuenta, pasarlo bien o pasarlo mal, regalar, reírse, relajarse, sonreír, sorprender. And then finally, going from left to right, el flan, el champán, brindar, el cumpleaños. All right, so you got some words there. Let's add a few more. Hopefully your goal soon is to graduarse, We would all like to graduarse de la universidad, right? To graduate. We have la boda, the wedding, la boda. La botella de vino, the bottle of wine. Los dulces, which are sweets or sometimes candies. El helado, ice cream. El pastel, the cake. El pastel de cumpleaños, the birthday cake. Los postres, the desserts. And las galletas, the cookies. All right, some other words that we see here in this chapter. We have some stages of life, las etapas de vida, stages of life. Here we have la etapa, the stage. La juventud, youth. El nacimiento, birth. La vida, life. Jubilarse, to retire from. Nacer, to be born. Over here under relaciones personales, or personal relations, we have la alegría, happiness. La amistad, friendship. El amor, love. El divorcio, divorce. El estado civil, your marital status. El matrimonio, your marriage. La pareja, a couple or a partner. El recién casado, the recently married or a newlywed, we might say, or for a female, la recién casada. Casado, casada, married. Literally, you have housed someone up from the verb like casa, casar, to house up, casado. You have married them. You've housed them up. Divorciado, divorciada, divorced. Juntos, maybe you're just together, juntos or juntas. Separated, separado or separada. If you're single, you're soltero or soltera. If you're widowed, you're a viudo or a viuda. Okay, some other verbs that we see here are cambiar, which is to change, cambiar. Casarse con, to marry, casarse con. Comprometerse con, to get engaged to. Divorciarse, to divorce from someone. Enamorarse de, to fall in love with someone. Llevarse bien or llevarse mal con, to get along well or badly with. Odiar, to hate. Romper con, to break up with. Salir con, to go out with, like on a date. Separarse de, to separate from someone. Tener una cita, to have a date. And then we have some visuals here just to kind of illustrate those etapas de vida, those stages of life. So we all begin with la niñez, childhood, like a niño is a child, so niñez, we begin with childhood. We morph into adolescencia, like being a teenager, adolescencia, adolescence. We move then to madurez, maturity, madurez, or middle age. We go from there to vejez, old age. And then finally to muerte, or death, muerte. Some other verbs that you see in this chapter, we have, or other words, el apellido, your last name, like mi apellido is Harrison. El consejo, advice, you might ask for consejo from a buen amigo. We have la respuesta, the answer or the response, la respuesta. All right, so these are your various words. Let's give you a chance to practice with these in context. So it tells us in número uno that Nelson y Mónica blank in septiembre. And then that second sentence is really important. La boda fue maravillosa. So Nelson and Mónica blank in September. The wedding was marvelous. So we know we're trying to say that they got married. So from the word bank, we choose se casaron. They married. They housed one another up. Se casaron. Número dos. Mi tía le blank muy grande al camarero. My aunt, to for him, blank, very big to the waiter. Well, my aunt, blank, she gave him a good tip. Le dejó una propina muy grande al camarero. She left him a big tip. Let's do one more. Mi padrastro, blank, el año pasado. My stepfather, blank, last year. Well, from your options here, we can probably guess that maybe he retired. Mi padrastro se jubiló el año pasado. All right, so using the remaining options that have not been marked out, I'd like for you to please take a moment, pause your audio, and give the rest of these a try. Let's see how you do. Okay, número cuatro. A Alejandra le gustan las galletas. Alejandra likes cookies. Ella se puso contenta y blank después de comérselas todas. So she likes cookies. She got really happy and blank after eating all of them. So she got really happy and she smiled, sonrió, después de comérselas todas. Número 5. Luis y yo, blank en la fiesta, bailamos y comimos mucho. So Luis and I, blank at the party, we danced and we ate a lot. Well, we had a lot of fun at the party. Nos divertimos mucho en la fiesta. Número 6. Tengo una nueva sobrina. I have a new niece. Ella blank ayer por la mañana y se llama Sofía. So I have a new niece. She blank yesterday in the morning and her name is Sofía. She was born. Ella nació ayer. Número 7. Irene y su esposo blank. Ellos casi nunca se pelean y disfrutan haciendo actividades juntos. So Irene and her husband blank, they almost never fight and they enjoy doing activities together. They get along well, se llevan bien. And número 8. Isabel y yo blank esta noche. Isabel and I blank tonight. Vamos a ir a un restaurante muy elegante. So Isabel and I are going on a date tonight. We're going to go to a very elegant restaurant. So we have a date. Isabel y yo tenemos una cita. All right, so hopefully you're beginning to feel good about your vocabulary. Let's do just one more activity in which you get to kind of come back with a rebuttal to anything that we say. You're going to turn it into the opposite. So for example, in número 1, we tell you that el nacimiento es el fin de la vida. Birth is the end of life. Well, we know that is not true. So you're always going to start with no, te equivocas. You're wrong. Te equivocas. So no, te equivocas. Blank es el fin de la vida. Well, we know that the end of life is actually called death. So we should say that la muerte es el fin de la vida. La muerte. Número 2. A los 65 años, muchas personas comienzan a trabajar. At 65 years of age, a lot of people comienzan a trabajar. They begin to work. That seems kind of falso to me. At 65, a lot of people are starting to retire. So I said back, no, te equivocas. A los 65 años, muchas personas se jubilan. Se jubilan. All right, amigos. So I want you guys to take some time to answer números 3 y 4 on your own, just kind of correcting what's wrong, fixing it with the opposite, for example. So take a moment and try these, and when you're ready, you can unpause. All right, so número 3. Francisco y Gloria se divorcian mañana. Uh-oh. Francisco and Gloria are getting divorced tomorrow. Okay, well, luckily we're going for the opposite here. Instead of getting divorced, the opposite of divorce is marriage. So we would say they're getting married tomorrow. They're housing one another up. So Francisco y Gloria se casan mañana. Se casan mañana. All right, muy bien. Número 4. Pancho se comprometió con Yolanda. Pancho got engaged with Yolanda. Well, if we think about the opposite of engagement, we could say that he broke up with her. He separated from her. So, no, te equivocas. Pancho rompió con, he broke up with, or se separó de Yolanda. All right, so the goal here was just to give you some practice with your vocabulario, make sure you're feeling good about those things. As we move into our very first grammar point for capítulo 9, this is Gramática 9.1, titled El pretérito irregular, the irregular preterite. There are quite a few of these that are irregular, and I have a little song that I made to kind of help you keep these in check. So first, let's flash back to what you know. Thinking about the regular preterite in Espanol, you know about your AR verbs and how to conjugate them. We always start by chopping off our AR, and then we add back aste, o, amos, astes, and aron. For an ER, too fast. For an ER or an IR verb, we chop off that ER or IR, and we add back iste, io, imos, istes, and ieron. You already know about those regular verbs. These are your irregulars. So these are all of the verbs you're going to be responsible for knowing in this chapter. And as we go through, I have them kind of labeled in a certain order to help you easily memorize these. So we'll start with the very first line, ir, ser, dar, and ver. Luckily for you, you already know ir and ser. Dar and ver are also part of this group, this first line of our song, which we refer to as verbos cortos, or short verbs. I've also labeled the others, hacer, querer, and venir are part of the I group. Saber, poder, and poner are part of the U group. Decir, traer, and conducir are part of what we call the J group. And tener, andar, and estar are part of what we refer to as the UV group, or sometimes just the U group for short. So let's take a look here at these verbos cortos. We know that ir means to go, and ser means to be. You also already know that these have the same conjugations. These are conjugated as fui, I went or I was. Fuiste, you went or you were. Fue, he or she went or he or she was. Fuimos, we went or we were. Fuistes, you all in Spain went or you all in Spain were. And fueron, they or you all went or they or you all were. That's not new information. Dar and ver are new for you, however. Dar means to give, and in the preterite, that is irregular. Unfortunately, you do just have to memorize these in the first line. There's really not a better way to learn them, but I'll give you a trick in a second. Dar, to give, is conjugated as di, I gave. Diste, you gave. Dio, he, she, or you formal gave. Dimos, we gave. Distes, you all in Spain gave. And dieron, they or you all gave. Now, ver means to see, unlike dar, which was to give. Ver is to see. As we swap these out, you can really just change the D for a V, and you have all these conjugations. So instead of D, we have V, I saw. Instead of viste, we have viste, you saw, and so on and so forth. Vio, he or she saw. Vimos, we saw. Vistes, you all in Spain saw. And vieron, they or you all saw. So these are your various conjugations of ir, ser, dar, and ver. And this very first line is known as the verbos cortos, or the short verbs. And these just kind of have to be memorized. The second line of our song was composed of hacer, which means to do or to make, querer, to want, and venir, to come. These are known as the I group, and they share a common set of endings. And I've listed those endings for you over in the green box. Those endings are iste, o, imos, istes, and dieron. Pay attention to these. They're going to come back in a second. So, as we think about the I group, hacer, querer, venir, the stem of these verbs is irregular. That's why they're called the I group, because essentially the stem receives an I. So, hacer, the stem becomes is. Querer, the stem becomes quis. And venir, the stem becomes vin. So, as you take a look at these, we really just slap those endings that you just learned. Iste, o, imos, istes, and dieron. We slap those endings on the end and we got our verb. Hice, hiciste, hizo, hicimos, hicistes, hicieron. So we literally just took this stem, we applied those endings, and we got all three of our verbs. So, quise, quisiste, quiso, quisimos, quisistes, quisieron, vine, viniste, vino, vinimos, vinistes, vinieron. We literally just memorized the new stem, and we already know those endings. We just plop those on there. So, one thing you need to know in red, I have, there's one little irregularity here. Iso is not spelled with a C. Hico would be pronounced as Ico, and that's not correct. So it's actually Iso with a Z. So that's just one thing for you to know. We're changing that C to a Z, Iso. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Okay, our third line is known as the U group. Notice the endings here for the U group are the same as the I group. Still A, still iste, still o, still imos, still istes, and still ieron. As we go through, first, it's important that you know what these verbs mean. So In the you group, we have saber, which is, in the preterite, it means to find out. You previously learned saber as to know, but it sounds weird to say I knew something. In the preterite, it means I found out, saber. Poder is to be able to, and poner, to put or to place. Okay, these are irregular and they're called the U group because the stem receives a U in each form. So saber becomes soup, not sup, but soup, S-U-P. Poder, to be able to, becomes pud, P-U-D, pud. And poner becomes pus, to put or place, pus. So you have all of those. Now, we already know our endings, iste, o, imos, istes, and dieron. We just need to take those endings and slap them on the ends of our stems. So, supe, I found out. Supiste, you found out. Supo, he or she found out. Supimos, we found out. Supistes, you all in Spain found out. Supieron, they or you all found out. Same thing with poder, pud. So I was able to, pude. You were able to, pudiste. He or she was able to, pudo. We were able to, pudimos. You all in Spain were able to, pudistes. And they were able to, pudieron. Finally, with poner, we know poner is changing to pus. So I put, yo puse. You put, tú pusiste. He or she put, puso. We put, pusimos. You all in Spain put, pusistes. And they or you all put, pusieron. So these are your various conjugations of the U group preterite. This is a good time also to mention the UV group, that last group. If you're wondering why they're both purple, it's because they're exactly the same. They have the same endings, so they're all kind of tied in together. So in the UV group, we have tener, to have, andar, to walk, and estar, to be. The stems here also change to get a U, or in most cases a UV. So tener becomes tuv, andar becomes anduv, and estar becomes estuv. So we just slap those endings on the end. Tuve, tuviste, tuvo. Tuvimos, tuvistes, and tuvieron. So literally just taking the tuv and slapping your endings on there. So I had tuve. You had tuviste. He or she had tuvo. We had tuvimos. You all in Spain had tuvistes. And they or you all had tuvieron. Something for andar, to walk or to stroll. Take your stem anduv, slap your endings on the end. Anduve, anduviste, anduvo, anduvimos, anduvistes, and anduvieron. And then finally estar, same thing. Your stem is estuv, and we put the endings on there. Estuve, I was. Estuviste, you were. Estuvo, he or she was. Estuvimos, we were. Estuvistes, you all in Spain were. And estuvieron, they or you all were. Okay, so we've heard about the verbos cortos in red, which we said we just have to memorize. We've heard about the I group, the U group, and the UV group, which all share the same set of endings, which I've included here in black. Iste, o, imos, istes, and ieron. Our last group is the J group, which is just slightly weird. Obviously, you can probably guess it's called the J group because the stem gets a J, and the endings are almost the same as the I, the U, and the UV group. The difference, if you look, we still have A, we still have iste, we still have O, still have imos, and still have istes. What's different is that with the I, the U, and the UV groups, our ending is ieron, whereas with the J group, it's just eron. You lose the I. Okay, so let's take a look at how those are conjugated as well. So here's our J group. We have decir, which means to say or to tell, and the stem of decir becomes di. We have traer, which means to bring, and the stem of traer becomes tra. Conducir, which means to drive, and the stem of conducir becomes condu. Again, our endings are the same except for the ellos, ellas, ustedes form, which is eron instead of ieron. And then we just slap those endings on the end. So dije, I said. Dijiste, you said. Dijo, he or she said. Dijimos, we said. Dijistes, you all in Spain said. And dijeron, they or you all said. Next we have traer. Traje, I brought. Trajiste, you brought. Trajo, he or she brought. Trajimos, we brought. Trajistes, you all in Spain brought. And trajeron, they or you all brought. Finally, we also have conducir, to drive. Again, you're just slapping those endings on there, the conduj, and then you add your endings. Conduje, condujiste, condujo, condujimos, condujistes, and condujeron. Okay? So hopefully we're feeling okay about those so far. Basically, all these together, I always tell my students just to memorize the yo form. So we have ir, ser, dar, and ver, which when conjugated are fui, di, and vi. Hacer, querer, and venir, which become hice, quise, vine, yo. Saber, poder, and poner, which become supe, pude, puse, yo. Decir, traer, and conducir, which become dije, traje, conduje, yo. And tener, andar, and estar, which become tuve, anduve, estuve, yo. Now, there is a really cool song where a class actually sings these, and like they have a little dance to it, and I've included a link to that here. It will not allow me to play that here while I'm also recording my voice for you, but I do encourage you to, this PowerPoint will be posted online. I encourage you to go through and watch the video on your own time. I think you will enjoy hearing it kind of sung aloud. But fui, di, vi, hice, quise, vine, yo, supe, pude, puse, yo, dije, traje, conduje, yo, tuve, anduve, estuve, yo. So the repetition of the yo form should help you remember the others. Also, there's a second video that I would encourage you to watch as well. This is to the song of Blurred Lines, and it's really good, and it just kind of repeats the stems over and over again and makes them easy to remember. I'll also include these links in my weekly email, so you'll have those. Okay, so now that they're all mixed together, let's see how you do in conjugating. So in numero uno, we have tu and ir. To say that you went, we know that ir is one of our verbos cortos, and it becomes fuiste. Fuiste. You went, tú fuiste. Número dos, we have ellos and hacer, they, and to make, or to do. And we know here we should get the ellos. We know hacer is part of which group? That's right, hacer should be part of the I group. So we know our stem here changes to is, H-I-C. It would probably help if I change the color. Is, H-I-C. This is the ellos form to say that they did something. So we should get hicieron. Hicieron. Número tres, we're given nosotros and ser. So we should get here nosotros fuimos. Fuimos, we were. And I snuck in a regular one on you. Tu mamá. So your mom. And comer, to eat. Well, to say that she ate, we're just going to chop off our er and comer. We're going to add yo on the end. There's no irregular verbs here. It's not part of our song. It's just an old one kind of mixed in for you. Okay, so I want you to take a moment, pause your audio, give the rest of these a try, and when you're ready, unmute, and we'll check these. Okay, so número 5 gives us doctora Heil and hablar. Oh gosh, doctora Heil, hablar. Hablar, is that irregular? Which group does it belong to? Well, it doesn't, right? It's not part of any of the irregular predicate groups. So here, we literally just chop off our AR. We say she spoke, habló. Oh, but número 6, Juan and ver. To say that Juan saw. Well, we know Juan is a person's name, he. And we have ver, to see, which is part of our verbos cortos, that very first line that we have to memorize. And we know the he or she form of ver becomes vio. Juan vio. Número 7. Isabel y Mateo dar. Isabel and Mateo gave. Again, dar is a verbo corto. You know, it's irregular. So we have to memorize this one. And dar normally becomes di in the yo form. Or in the ellos, ellas, ustedes, it is dieron. Dieron. Número 8 gives us the verb saber. We know that saber is part of our you group. And our stem of saber becomes sup. In the nosotros form, to say that we found out, we're adding our ending imos, and we get nosotros supimos. Número 9. We're given ellos and estar. We know that estar is also one of our irregular verbs. Estar is part of the UV group. So estar becomes estuv. And then to say that they were, we add ieron. Sending with our last one, Victor y tú, you and Victor, you all were. We're going to take hacer. We know hacer is irregular. Our stem becomes is. And depending on if you're in Spain or elsewhere, to say that you all were in Spain, we say hiciste. And in Mexico or other parts of the world, we would say hicieron with the ustedes form. So I hope this is helpful to you in practicing your conjugations. Don't worry, we'll practice a little more. Speaking of practice, you have seen this many times, but I love conjuguemos. I think it's a wonderful way to practice and get some repetition and just kind of committing these to memory. So if you're looking for a great way just to practice quickly memorizing these verbs, I encourage you to check out conjuguemos. I think it'll be helpful to you. And there's a direct link here as well in the slides. Okay, el pretérito irregular. We are almost finished with this. One thing that I did want to mention, in Spanish 1, you learned about the word hay, H-A-Y, which means there is or there are. And hay literally comes from the verb haber, to be. So like, hay tres personas. There are 3 people in the room. Hay tres personas. Or hay dos teléfonos. There are 2 phones in la mesa, on the table. So you learned I as there is or there are, and you didn't really question it. But in the preterite, you now need to know this comes from the verb haber. And in this case, in the past tense, in the preterite, haber is conjugated as hubo. And instead of meaning there is or there are, hubo means there was or there were. So for example, hubo una fiesta el sábado pasado. There was a party last Saturday. Or hubo muchos invitados. There were a lot of guests. So again, just translate it as there was or there were. Just another irregular there for you while we're talking about them. All right, so it is your turn to practice now. These are all mixed together with your vocabulary in the form of a little story. So it tells us that el sábado, haber una fiesta sorpresa para Elsa en mi casa. So on Saturday, there was a little surprise party for Elsa in my house. Sofía hacer un pastel para la fiesta. And we're trying to say that Sofía made a cake for the party. So she made, we're going to say that Sofía, hacer is irregular. It becomes part of the is group, H-I-C. And then normally our ending would be an O, hizo. But we should recall this one does have a spelling change. Instead of hizo, it becomes hizo, H-I-Z-O. So Sofía hizo un pastel. She made a cake para la fiesta. And Miguel traer un flan. Miguel brought a flan. Well, traer, we know, is part of the J group. The stem of traer becomes tra, T-R-A-J, tra. And then we're saying he brought, so we just add our normal ending for the J group, which in this case is an O. So Sofía hizo un pastel y Miguel trajo un flan. He brought a flan, trajo. Okay? Let's try one more. In número 2, we talk about los amigos y los parientes de Elsa. So Elsa's relatives and friends, venir, they came, y traer regalos, and they brought presents. So to say that they came, we're going to take this verb venir. We know that it has a stem change. In this case, it's part of the I group verbs, one of the irregulars. Our stem becomes vin. So to say that the friends and the relatives, that they came, we take vin and we add our ending, vinieron, they came. And they brought presents. So again, we have the verb traer to say that they brought. Traer is part of our J group. So our stem becomes tra. And then they brought trajeron. Be careful, unlike vinieron, which had an I, with the J group preterite, and the third person does not have an I. So it should be trajeron, trajeron. Okay, so you've gotten a little bit of practice with números uno y dos. I'd like for you to please take a moment and try números 3 a 6. 3 a 6. And see how you do. When you're ready, you can unmute. All right, let's check these out. So número 3. El hermano de Elsa no venir porque tener que trabajar. So Elsa's brother did not come because he had to work. So he didn't come. We're going to take the verb venir, which we already said was part of the I group. Our stem becomes vin. And to say that he didn't come, talking about Elsa's brother or he, we add the letter O. So el hermano de Elsa no vino. He did not come. Because he had to work, porque tener que trabajar. So we take this verb tener, which we know belongs to our UV group. Therefore, our stem becomes tuf. And again, he had to, we should say porque tuvo. tuvo que trabajar. Número 4. Su tía María tampoco poder venir. So her Aunt Maria also was unable to come. So poder, we know is part of our you group. Poder, the stem becomes pud, and to say that her aunt, she was unable to come, pudo. No pudo venir. She was not able. Número 5. Cuando Elsa abrió la puerta, todos gritaron ¡Feliz cumpleaños! Y su esposo le dio un beso. So when Elsa opened the door, everybody screamed happy birthday, and her husband gave her a kiss. So he gave, we know dar is one of our verbos cortos. It just has to be memorized. Dar becomes vio. Vio. And finally, número 6. Al final de la fiesta, at the end of the party, todos decir que se divirtieron mucho. At the end of the party, everybody said they had a lot of fun. So decir, part of our J group, the stem becomes di. And then they said dijeron, again, no I, because it is not part, or it is part of the J group. All right, I hope you're feeling better about the irregular preterite. I have just one last activity for you to practice a little bit more. The title here is ¿Qué hicieron? Or what did you all do? ¿Qué hicieron? And in the box, you're given 6 different verbs. We have dar, to give, estar, to be, poner, to put or to place, tener, to have, traer, to bring, and venir, to come. And basically, you're supposed to look at the photos and ask, what are these people doing? So, número uno talks about Señor Lopez, and it gives us dinero. Well, we know that dinero is money. So, what might Señor Lopez be doing with the money? Well, he might be giving it, being it, putting it, having it, bringing it, or coming it. Well, he most likely is giving the money to someone. It appears that he's giving it to someone in the picture. So, to say he gave in the past tense, el Señor López dio dinero. He gave money. And we could specify who. El Señor López le dio dinero a su hijo. Le dio dinero a un amigo. Whatever. But he gave. Dio dinero. He gave. It's the important part. Número 2. Nosotros en fiestas. We have we and party. Nosotros en fiesta. Well, we most likely have a party, right? Or maybe we give a party. But either way, we have a party. We take the verb tener to say that we had. We know tener is part of our UV group, so our stem becomes tuv, and then we have a party. Nosotros tuvimos una fiesta. All right, now it's your turn. I'd like for you to try, please, with número 3 y 4. Número 3 talks about Norma and el pavo. Número 4 talks about Roberto y Elena and el regalo. So give these two a try. When you're ready, you can unpause. All right, so número 3, we have Norma and the pavo. Well, it looks like Norma is placing the pavo on the table. So we know to place or to put is the verb poner. To say that she put the turkey, we know poner is part of our you group. Poner becomes pus. And to say that she put, Norma puso el pavo en la mesa. She put the turkey on the table. Número 4 talks about Roberto y Elena, and we're given the word regalo or present. It appears that Roberto and Elena may have brought a present for someone. So we're going to take that verb traer, which is to bring, and to say that Roberto and Elena, that they brought, we know traer is part of our J group. The stem becomes tra, T-R-A-J. And then to say they brought, we should add eron as our ending, not ieron, just eron, since it's J group. And Roberto y Elena trajeron un regalo. They brought a present. Okay, friends, that kind of summarizes our irregular preterite verbs, that first grammar point, 9.1. Next, we're going to move into Gramática 9.2, which is about verbs that have verbs that have meaning changes in the preterite tense. So basically, when these are conjugated one way, they mean one thing in the present. And when they're conjugated in the preterite, they totally change meaning and mean something totally different. So there are kind of like 4 verbs I really want you to know about. These verbs are conocer, saber, poder, and querer. So as you think about conocer, in the present tense, conocer means to know, like to know a person or a place, conocer. However, when you conjugate it in the past, it is translated as to meet someone. So for example, Yo conozco a esa pareja. I know that couple. Conozco a esa pareja. I know them. But yesterday, ayer, yo conocí a esa pareja. It would sound weird to say I knew them yesterday, right? Instead of I knew them, I met them yesterday. So conocí a esta pareja ayer. I met them. So in the present tense, to know, whereas in the preterite, to meet. Same thing with saber. Saber in the present tense, as you know, means to know information or know how to do something, whereas in the preterite, it means to find out. So, for example, in the present tense, sabemos la respuesta. We know the answer. But anoche, last night, supimos la respuesta. Last night we knew the answer. That sounds weird. Last night we found out the answer. We learned the answer. Supimos la respuesta. Next up on the list, we have poder. Poder means to be able to. So, for example, podemos hacerlo. We can do it. Podemos hacerlo. But in the preterite, poder means that you managed or you succeeded to do it. So, pudimos hacerlo. We were able to. We managed to do it. Whereas in the negative, no pudimos. We were unable to. We failed to do it. We did not succeed. We did not manage to do it. So, to be able to versus to fail. And then finally, querer is to want. It can also mean to love in some contexts. But in this case, querer, to want. So, yo quiero ir a la fiesta, pero tengo que trabajar. I really want to go to the party, but I have to work. Whereas querer in the preterite means I tried to do something. So, yo quise ir a la fiesta, pero tuve que trabajar. I tried to go to the party, but I had to work. So, in this case, querer in the present tense is to want, whereas querer in the preterite is to try. And again, just like with poder, it totally changes meanings depending on whether or not it's positive or negative. So, quise, I tried, but no quise, I did not try, but aka I refused. I totally refused. No quise ir a la fiesta. I refused to go to the party. So, these can be a little bit complicated. It's really just a matter of wrapping your brain around how best to translate them. So I'm going to leave them up here, and then we're going to try an activity with these. So, manos a la obra, hands to work. In número dos, we ask you if sabes la respuesta. Do you know the answer? Okay, once we translate it into the preterite, not did you know the answer, but did you find out the answer? We put it in the preterite and we get supiste. Did you find out the answer? Número tres. Las chicas pueden divertirse. The girls are able to have fun. So in the past, to say that the girls were able to have fun, they managed to have fun, they succeeded in having fun, we translate and we say, las chicas pudieron divertirse. Número cuatro. ¿Conoces a los recién casados? Do you know the recently married? Do you know the newlyweds? And do you know them was the present tense. So in the preterite, when we translate it, as we conjugate it in the preterite as conociste, we should actually properly translate it not as did you know the recently married, but did you meet them? Very good. Conociste a los recién casados. Okay. Número cinco. No puedo encontrar a Patricia. I'm not able to find Patricia. And then in the past, I'm not able to. I failed to find her. I wasn't able to find her. No pude encontrar a Patricia. And last one, número seis. Josefina quiere descansar. Josefina wants to relax. Well, so in the preterite, Josefina quiso descansar, just conjugating there with the irregulars again. But gosh, how would we translate that? That quiso. She tried to relax. So we went from she wanted to relax, quiere, to she tried, quiso. All right, so again, just kind of illustrating these in context for you. Let's give you a chance to try a few when they appear in sentence form. So in número uno, we're given anoche, last night. Nosotros, we. Saber, to know or to find out. Del divorcio de Carlos y Eva, of the divorce of Carlos and Eva. So last night we found out about their divorce. We're going to take saber, conjugating it in the preterite. We do know that it's part of our you group since it's irregular. So we should say that anoche nosotros supimos del divorcio de Carlos y Eva. We found out about it. Número dos. Tú conocer Nora in clase historia no. These are the words we're giving. So we're trying to say that you to know Nora in history class. Oh, wait, right. The preterite means you met her. So you met Nora in history class. So we're going to take conocer. We conjugate it by chopping off our ER. We should say that tú conociste a Nora en la clase de historia, no? You met her in history class, right? Okay, now that you've had a few examples, I'd like for you to please take a moment, pause your audio, and give numbers 3, 4, and 5 a try. Okay, amigos, número 3, we're given the verb poder, to be able to, and ustedes, you all, visitar la isla de Pascua. Were you all able to visit Easter Island? So remember, in the preterite, poder is not just to be able to, but rather to manage to. So did you all manage to visit Easter Island? We're going to take poder, we conjugate it in the irregular preterite, knowing that it's a U group verb, and we ask if pudieron ustedes visitar la isla de Pascua. Número 4, we're given Pedro, querer romper en Olivia. Pedro, to want, to break, and we can assume to break up with Olivia. So gosh, in the present tense, querer is to want. But in the preterite, he tried to break up with Olivia. So we take querer, which we know is irregular. Our stem becomes quis, part of the I group. And in this case, Pedro wanted to break up with her. Pedro tried to break up with her. Pedro quiso romper con Olivia. And our last one, Irma saber de la fiesta sorpresa. So Irma, to know, to find out about the surprise party. Well, to say that she found out, we want to take saber, which we know is part of our U group. So saber should become sup. And Irma supo de la fiesta sorpresa. So kind of putting together what you learned in your last grammar point with this one, allowing you to practice, just really about how these are translated differently depending on whether they're in the present or the preterite. All right, as we move on to Gramática 9.3, or relative pronouns, these can be a bit challenging, but they're not too bad. Honestly, they make your sentences a little bit more complex, a little bit less choppy. So, for example, let's say I gave you that este es el flan. This is the flan. And then Manuela preparó el flan. Manuela prepared the flan. Well, those are two great sentences. This is the flan, and Manuela made the flan. Well, that's awesome, but we could shorten it even more, that this is the flan that Manuela made. So we shorten that using what we call a relative pronoun. And essentially, we're just combining those two sentences, those two clauses into one, and saying that este es el flan que Manuela preparó. This is the flan that she prepared. Here's another example. Lourdes es muy inteligente. Lourdes is very smart. Lourdes estudia español. Lourdes studies Spanish. Well, Lourdes is smart. Lourdes studies Spanish. That's awesome. What about a shorter sentence? Lourdes, who studies Spanish, is very smart. We just combine it together using some relative pronouns, which is where we're going next. So these relative pronouns in español are things like que, which means that, which, or who, depending on the context. Quién, or quiénes, which means who or whom, also in some cases can be translated as that. And lo que, which means that which, or in some cases can be translated as what. Don't stress so much about the translation right now. Just your three common relative pronouns are que, quién, quiénes, and lo que. You already knew que from what or that, quién, who, and lo que, literally that which, or it that. So let's just practice. Now, you do need to know these do not have any accents whatsoever, unlike the interrogative words que, what, quién, who, etc. Because these are being used as relative pronouns and not as question words. So in this case, they do not have any kind of an accent. So the most commonly used relative pronoun is que, and it can refer to either things or to people. The weird part is that in English, we don't really need this word. It's kind of omitted. Whereas in Spanish, you can never, ever, ever leave out the that or the que. So for example, ¿dónde está el pastel que pedí? In English, we could totally leave out the that and just say, where is the cake I ordered? But in Espanol, you must have the that. ¿Dónde está el pastel que pedí? The cake that I ordered. Same thing on the other side. El hombre que sirve la comida se llama Diego. The man who served the food, his name is Diego. Well, in this case, you could translate que as that or as who. The man that served the food or the man who served the food. So that's why you had some multiple meanings on the previous slide. Either way, que is your most commonly used relative pronoun. You will see it a lot. On the flip side of that, we have quien, who, or quienes, which is the plural form, who all. These refer only to people, and there's really like two situations where you're going to see these. If you have the personal a, then, or you have any kind of other preposition, so a, con, de, any of those, you're most likely going to use quien or quienes. Also, instead of que, you can use quien or quienes when the clause is offset by commas. So for example, Lola, quien es cubana, es médica. Lola, who is Cuban, is a doctor. Well, if you didn't have commas there, you would say que. So the commas do matter. For example, mi hermana, comma, quien vive en Madrid, comma, me llamó por teléfono. My sister, who lives in Madrid, called me on the phone. Since you have the comma there, you used quien. Otherwise, you would use que. So just a little introduction there about quien and quienes. Remember, quienes is the plural form, referring to two people, whereas quien just refers to one. Finally, lo que is very like generic, and I would say this is my favorite relative pronoun. I use it a lot in natural Spanish. But in this case, lo que refers to an idea, a situation, or any kind of past event. It literally just means what, or in some cases, the thing that. So you see this in very, very generic situations where there's no apparent like who, what, when, where, very generic. So for example, Juana tiene todo lo que necesitamos. Juana has everything that we need. She has all that we need. Todo que necesitamos. Or lo que me molesta es el calor. The thing that bothers me is the heat, or literally, it that bothers me. What's bothering the most is the heat. Lo que quiero es verte. What I want is to see you. Lo que quiero, it that I want, the thing that I want. And finally, lo que más te gusta es divertirte. What you like the most is to have fun. So all of these are very in-specific ideas, situations, or in some cases, past events. So the best way to practice using these is to read them in context and you begin to just pick them up naturally. So we're going to first do a reading activity, and then I'll give you some that don't have context and see how you do. So let's start with the context. So here we see una fiesta de aniversario, a little anniversary party. All right, and here it tells us that Amparo está hablando de la fiesta de aniversario de sus abuelos. He's talking about his grandparents' anniversary party. And in the box, you have some options. A quien conozco muy bien, whom I know very well. De quien, or excuse me, de quienes te hablé, of whom I was talking to you about. Que saqué, that I took out. Que se graduó, who graduated. Quien es la novia, who is the girlfriend. And quien se jubiló, who retired. So let's see how these fit into these sentences. El sábado, yo fui a la fiesta de aniversario de mis abuelos. On Saturday, I went to my grandparents' anniversary party. Blank la semana pasada. So on Saturday, I went to my grandparents' anniversary party. Blank last week. Well, my grandparents' anniversary party. De quienes te hablé la semana pasada. So I went to the anniversary party of my grandparents, of whom I was telling you about last week. You know, the ones I was telling you about, we might say in English. So this immediately follows mis abuelos. I went to the anniversary party of my grandparents, of whom I was telling you about last week. Let's try another one. Número dos. Estas son las fotos blank durante la fiesta. So these are the photos blank during the party. These are the photos that I took during the party. Que saqué. Que saqué. Okay, I want you guys to pause your audio. Please give numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6 a try, and let's see how you do. All right, número 3. Este es Ramón, mi primo. So this is Ramón, my cousin. Es el chico blank de la universidad en junio. He's the guy who blanked from the university in June. Well, this is my cousin Ramón. He's the guy who graduated from, se graduó de la universidad en junio. Número 4. Este es mi abuelo. This is my grandfather. Blank el año pasado. This is my grandfather blank last year. A grandfather who retired. ¿Quién se jubiló el año pasado? Número 5. Esta mujer, blank, se llama Ana. This woman, blank, his name is Anna. So this woman, whom I know really well. Esta mujer, a quien conozco muy bien, her name is Ana. And the last one, y esta es Lucía, and this is Lucía, blank de Ramón. This is Lucía, quien es la novia de Ramón, who is the girlfriend of Ramón. All right, so this time you were reading in context, which makes it a little bit easier. Let's change gears for a sec where there isn't a huge context outside of una fiesta de cumpleaños, a birthday party. And I'm going to give you some hints that your options are que, quién, quién es, and lo que. These are the only four you can use. Que, quién, quién es, and lo que. So let's look at the model. Jaime and Laura son los amigos blank planean la fiesta. So Jaime and Laura are the friends blank plan the party. They're the friends, in English we would say the friends who plan the party, but we can't use the word quién or who in this case because there are no commas setting off this clause. So we must use que. Jaime y Laura son los amigos que planean la fiesta. Try another one, número 1. Manuela, blank, cumple 21 años. Mañana. No sabe que sus amigos están planeando una fiesta. So Manuela, blank, compiles 21 years tomorrow, who turns 21 tomorrow. No sabe que sus amigas están planeando una fiesta. They don't know that her friends are planning a party. So Manuela, who turns 21 tomorrow, doesn't know that her friends are planning a party. So your options are que, quién, quién es, and lo que. What do you think? Yeah, well, you're saying who, Manuela, who is compiling 21 years. So you're kind of tempted to say quién, right? Can I do that? Do I have commas? I do have commas offsetting this clause. So in this case, I can say quién. However, would it be wrong to say que? It's not. Since you have commas, you can use quién, but you also can use que. They're both correct. So just a little observation there. All right, it's your time to shine. I would like for you to take a moment and pause your audio, give numbers 2 through 6 a quick try, and we will check these and see how you did. Okay, amigos, número 2. Estas son las personas blank van a invitar. So these are the people blank they're going to invite. These are the people blank they're going to invite. Well, you're tempted to say who, right? People who they're going to invite. But can we use quién here? Or quién es? We cannot, only because it's not set off by commas. So estas son las personas que van a invitar. These are the people that they're going to invite. Número 3. Juan y Luz, blank son los hermanos de Manuela, van a venir. So Juan and Luz, blank are the siblings of Manuela, are going to come. So Juan and Luz, who are the siblings of Manuela, are going to come. So what do you think? Yeah, you're right. There are commas, so we can use quién, but we got two people, Juan y Luz. So we should say quién es. We need to pluralize quién. Also, it's not wrong to say que here either. Just quién es is an option since there are commas that are setting it off as well. Número 4. Marco, blank es el novio de Manuela, va a venir también. So Marco, blank is the boyfriend of Manuela, is going to come too. So Marco, who is the boyfriend of Manuela, he's going to come. So you're right, you can use que or you can use quién, either one. I prefer quién when it is set off by commas. Otherwise, I use que. Número 5. Blank, Jaime y Laura van a servir de postre. Es un pastel. So blank, Jaime and Laura are going to serve as a dessert is the cake. We could say what they're going to serve, or that which they're going to serve, lo que. Lo que van a servir de postre es un pastel. In this case, it's the beginning of a sentence, so it's more proper to say lo que for that reason. But also, what they're going to serve for dessert is a cake. It's sort of an unspecified object. Gosh, what are they doing for dessert? Oh, a cake, right? Número 6. Todos van a bailar salsa y rock hasta la 1 de la mañana. Everybody's going to dance salsa and rock until 1 in the morning. Blank va a ser muy divertido. So everybody's dancing the salsa and rock until 1 in the morning. Blank is going to be very fun, or that which is going to be very fun. Lo que va a ser muy divertido. Again, it's a general idea. Oh, we're going to be dancing till 1 in the morning. That's going to be really fun. Well, what's going to be fun? Is it the dancing? Is it the hanging out? Is it the experience? Like, what is it exactly that is very fun? So it's sort of an unspecified object. Okay, one last time, I'd like for you to practice again using either que, lo que, quién, or quiénes. These are totally mixed together, no certain context, so you kind of just get to put it together. So let's check it out. Número 2. Ese mercado tiene todo blank necesitamos. That market has all blank we need. It has all that which we need. Todo lo que necesitamos. Again, we can't just use que in this case because it's sort of an unspecified thing. What exactly do they have that we need? All that we need is very specific. Todo lo que necesitamos. Número 3. Úrsula, blank es la dueña del restaurante, es de Uruguay. So Ursula, blank is the restaurant owner, is from Uruguay. So Ursula, or Úrsula in español, who is the restaurant owner? We're separated by commas, so we could use quién or we could use que, personal preference. All right, so one last time, please pause your audio and give these relative pronouns a shot on your own. All right, let's see how you're doing. Número 4. Donaldo, a blank viste en la fiesta, es chileno. So the Donaldo, whom I saw at the party, or whom you saw at the party, is from Chile. He's Chilean. So Donaldo, whom you saw. Since there is a preposition in this case, a, we must use quién, a quién, to whom you saw, a quién viste. Número 5. A Cecilia no le gusta el regalo, blank le compré. Cecilia does not like the present, blank I bought her. So she does not like the present that I bought her, que compré. It's not quién because it's not talking about a person. It's not lo que because it's a very specific present. It's the one that I bought her. Número 6. No me gusta hablar con personas a blank no conozco. I don't like to talk with people to blank I don't know. I don't like to talk to people whom I don't know. So in this case, we are talking about people. We should use either quién or quiénes. And we know that personas is plural, so it should be the plural form of quién as well. No me gusta hablar con personas a quienes no conozco. Número 7. Rosana es la chica de blank te hablé. Rosana is the girl of blank I told you about, of whom we talked about whom we spoke. La chica de quién. De quién. It is again followed by a preposition with de, so it must be quién. Número 8. El chico blank está a la izquierda es mi primo. So the boy who is to my left is my cousin. Oh, we said who. Can we use quién here? We cannot because there's no commas. So in this case, it should be que. El chico que está a la izquierda es mi primo. Número 9. Ana, con blank voy a la fiesta, es muy simpática. Ana, with blank I'm going to the party, is very nice. Well, Ana, with whom I'm going to the party, it is indeed separated by commas. We should use quién. Ana con quién. Again, it's separated by, it's followed by a preposition, so it must be con quién. And last one. Blank me sorprendió, fue ver a tantos invitados. Blank that surprised me was seeing all the guests. So that which invited me. We're talking about a general idea. It's not specific. So that which surprised me. Lo que. We also know it's coming at the beginning of the sentence, which helps ensure that it should be lo que as well. All right, our very, very last grammar point of capítulo 9, this is 9.4, discussing the difference in que versus cuál. So in this case, how do we know the difference? Well, you know that que means what, cuál and cuáles means which or which ones. There are some cases, though, where cuál can also be translated as which, and unfortunately, que and cuál are not interchangeable. So the sort of broken down version here, the sort of simplified version, we know that que is used when we want to ask for a definition or for an explanation of something. So, like, ¿qué es el flan? What is flan? You're looking for someone to define, oh, flan es un postre que típicamente se sirve en países latinoamericanos, etc. You're looking for a definition. What is flan? Or, ¿qué estudias? What do you study? You're looking for a specific explanation. Oh, yo estudio español y negocios, right? Something specific. ¿Cuál, though, is used when there's a choice between multiple possibilities. So, like, ¿cuál quieres? ¿Estos o esos? So which do you prefer? These or those? Right? Looking for very specific options. You got more than one to choose from. Or ¿cuál es tu apellido? ¿Martínez o Vázquez? What's your last name? ¿Martínez o Vázquez? So you got multiple options to choose from with ¿cuál? Whereas que, more definitional or explanational. Explanational? I think that's a word. I'm looking for more of an explanation or a definition. Okay, some other clues here to help you differentiate. Cuál or cuáles should not be used before a noun. So instead you use que. So for example, que, you want to say que es tu color favorito, right? What is your favorite color? But in this case, it's cuál. ¿Cuál es tu color favorito? Number one, because there's a noun in the sentence. And number two, because there are multiple colors to choose from. So you're using cuál. Here's another example. ¿Qué colores te gustan? Well, although you're tempted to say, which colors do you like? In this case, since we can't use cuál before a noun, we use que. ¿Qué colores te gustan? What colors do you like? Que, when it's used before a noun, has the same meaning as cuál, though. So, ¿qué regalo te gusta? Well, what present or which present do you like? ¿Qué dulces quieren ustedes? What candies do you all want, or which candies would you like? Whereas we typically use cuál with verbs. So, ¿cuál te gusta? Which do you like? Or, ¿cuáles quieren ustedes? Which ones do y'all want? So, if you're looking for like a nice little cheat or just a basic definition of the rules, we use que when we want to know a definition or we want to know an explanation. We also use que with nouns. We use cuál when there's multiple options to choose from or when a verb immediately follows. Okay, so that should give you a nice little sort of cheat sheet to help you. Now, don't get these confused with your question words. You already know these from Español Uno. A qué hora, a dónde, cómo, cuál, cuándo, dónde, cuántos, all of these. You already know these from Español Uno. And there is a song to help you throw back. Por qué, why, cuándo, when, qué, what, dónde, where. One of those. I encourage you to explore the song, which should help you as well with remembering these if you're having trouble. But just one last little bout of practice with que and cuál. So we ask you in número uno, blank te gusta más? Which do you like more? We're using cuál here, one, because it's followed by a verb, and two, because there's multiple options that you could choose from. Número uno, blank es tu teléfono? What's your phone? Like, as implying, what's your phone number? Well, we use cuál here because it's followed by a verb, es, and also because there are multiple numbers to choose from if you want to think about it that way. Número tres, blank tipo de pastel pediste? What type of cake did you order? Well, we're using que here because a tipo de pastel is a noun. Remember, que goes with nouns, cuál goes with verbs. Número cuatro, blank es una boda? What is a wedding? Well, we're looking for a definition. What is a wedding? It's also followed by a verb. So, ¿qué es una boda? We're looking for a definition here. ¿Qué es una boda? Número cinco, blank haces ahora? Blank are you doing right now? Well, what are you doing right now? ¿Qué haces ahora? You're looking for an explanation, so we use que. So be careful, even though 4 and 5 are followed by verbs, you have to look at the context as well, definition, explanation, so you got to think it through. Okay, so I've been doing some of these for you. I'd like for you to now take a moment, pause your audio, please give 6 through 10 a try, and we'll check those. All right, let's see how you're doing. Número 6. Blank son tus platos favoritos? Blank are your favorite dishes. In this case, we use cuáles, the plural form of cuál, because there might be multiple dishes to choose from. And it's cuáles because it's plural. So, ¿cuáles son tus platos favoritos? Número 7. Blank bebidas te gustan más? Blank beverages do you like the most? ¿Qué bebidas te gustan más? What beverages do you like the most? Followed by a noun. ¿Qué bebidas te gustan más? Número 8. Blank es esto. What is this? This is kind of a set expression. ¿Qué es esto? So if you didn't know it from the set expression, you also are looking for an explanation, obviously. Número 9. Número 9. Blank es el mejor. Which one's the best? ¿Cuál es el mejor? In this case, there's multiple options to choose from. Obviously, you're asking which one is the best, so we're using cuál. And our last one, blank es tu opinión. What's your opinion? ¿Cuál es tu opinión? It's followed by a verb. And also, you might have multiple opinions. ¿Cuál es tu opinión? Overall, I hope this has been helpful for you, sorting through these various slides, practicing a little bit. As always, it's been a pleasure working with you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, let me know. I'm always here, just a quick phone call or email away. Have a wonderful week, everybody, y muchas gracias. Adios.